My name is David Wolfen. I'm the president of Avino Silver and Gold Mines. Avino owns 100% of the historic Avino mine in Durango, Mexico. Mining dates back over 500 years, and under our control, we mined it for 27 years. We're starting on a new era of mining, and we plan to reopen the mine this year. Avino trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol ASM. For more information, call 604-682-3701 or visit the company's website, www.avino.com.
Good afternoon. My name's Larry Ray. I'm the president and CEO of American Manganese, Inc. I'm here to tell you today that American Manganese could possibly bring in the lowest cost electrolytic manganese metal mine in North America. It'll be the first one in the past few decades. What is manganese? Well, you can't have a steel industry without manganese. If you don't have manganese, you don't have steel. If you don't have steel, the world stops. North America has no manganese. We depend on our neighbors and other countries to import our manganese, and it just doesn't make any sense we don't exploit the resources in our own country. So I'm here to tell you that we are moving ahead with the feasibility study, we're moving ahead with the environmental studies, and we're moving ahead with a massive drill program in order to build the American Manganese, Inc. into the first primary electrolytic manganese producer in the United States. Please visit our website at americanmanganeseinc.com or call us at 604-531-9639. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Money and Wealth Show. I'm Sterling Fox, and our special guest this week is BC Finance Minister Colin Hansen, the MLA for Vancouver-Quilchena, and the spear carrier for the HST in this province, which, along with Ontario, implements the program on July 1st, 2010. Minister, in the implementation legislation, you called it the Consumption Tax Rebate and Transition Act. Many would say that it's so bloody unpopular, you couldn't even say harmonized sales tax in the actual verbiage in the legislation. What's up with that?
Well, I think, first of all, just to go back to your intro after we came back, when you talk about the spear carrier, sometimes I feel like the spear catcher. But the reason is because the legislation to implement the harmonized sales tax is federal legislation, and it's already passed Parliament.
Yes.
It passed Parliament last year. So what we have to do provincially is get rid of the provincial sales tax, because I don't think there's anybody that wants to see the 7% provincial sales tax on top of the 7% provincial portion of the harmonized tax, the HST. So what this legislation does is it gets rid of the provincial sales tax. It's interesting the number of people that actually think that the introduction of the HST means that we're going to add that on top of the PST, which is not the case, as long as this legislation passes, needless to say. But the other is just some transition issues around some of the rebates that we will give to not-for-profit organizations and school districts and hospitals and things like that, and municipalities. But it also, in it has other provisions that allow for us to transition from the provincial sales tax to the HST. It's things like what happens if you're in the middle of building a house and you're halfway through construction. So those are the kind of transition rules that we have to put in place.
Not that any tax introduced by any government anywhere is likely to be joyously received by the electorate. This, however, happens to be a particularly unpopular tax move by the government of Mr. Campbell and yourself. I'm seeing polls that show high 70s, in some cases even low 80% of those surveyed who say, no, I'm not a big fan of this at all. In fact, if I could change it in a heartbeat, it would be done. Mm-hmm. In the face of that really hostile reception that you're receiving in every corner of the province, what is it that pushes you and the government forward with this package?
Well, I think first of all, there's two things. I think if you did a survey and you asked people, do you like paying income tax or do you like the GST? I think you would get a similar high percentage of people that would say no.
Undoubtedly.
If you went out and did a survey and you asked the question, the provincial government is thinking of getting rid of the provincial sales tax. Do you think that's a good idea? I'll bet you have lots of people saying, yeah, anything to do with tax, people don't like it. That's human nature.
Right.
But I think the reason why we are committed to this is because it is so important to our economy. When you look at the study that was done by Professor Jack Mintz, he is one of the leading tax economists, not just in Canada, but in North America. He did a study and looking just at British Columbia in terms of the impact that it will have on our province. It would mean a net increase over the next decade of 113,000 new jobs in this province. And that's across all sectors. That's why you get groups like the motion picture industry is 100% in favor of HST. You get the logging sector, the forest sector, the mining sector, the technology sector, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of British Columbia, a big supporter of HST because it simplifies our tax system and makes it more fair. You look at the Certified General Accountants of BC, the BC Chamber of Commerce has been a big supporter of HST actually going back to the mid-1990s. And it's because it actually allows for more investment and it allows for more job creation in British Columbia and it allows us to be more competitive internationally.
And yet your predecessor, Carol Taylor, in the Ministry of Finance, took a presumably long, hard look at the HST and said, not on my watch, not interested.
Well,
what changed your mind? What changed aside from the minister in the front office that persuaded you to consider this differently from Ms. Taylor?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all was the new flexibility that the federal government was showing. We know this is a tough political sell because it is complex. It's difficult for people to understand exactly how it will work. And people have these exaggerated claims going around on the internet about the impact it's going to have on family budgets, which we could talk about too. But the federal government was saying that there had to be one rate for all of Canada. So for us to introduce this and go to a overall 13% rate instead of the current 12% combined rate of GST, PST, GST, that would have made it much more difficult. And the other is just around our ability to shape this to meet British Columbia's needs. Now, the other big factor that happened last year was Ontario's decision to adopt the harmonized sales tax on July 1st. And I know a lot of people say, well, so what? Why do we care what Ontario does?
Exactly.
This is British Columbia. And it's because we are in competition for investment dollars. It's the job creators, it's the money that we need to make sure that we can create those jobs in the future. And so when you start looking at the amount of tax that is applied on an investment before they have a chance of making a profit, if an investor comes into British Columbia and makes a profit, great, they're going to pay corporate income tax on their profits, profit taxes. But this is a tax on their investment before they actually get a chance to make any profit at all. And the shift to this value-added tax reduces the tax on that investment by 40%. So if we suddenly found ourselves this July at a time when the world economy is recovering, investors are looking for new opportunities, Ontario would have a huge advantage over British Columbia. And quite literally, we would see jobs move from British Columbia to Ontario. And we've had companies tell us that.
Our special guest this week on the Money and Wealth Show is BC Finance Minister Colin Hansen. Lots more to come. Stay with us.